been labelled a predator and has even been banned from Australia and thrown out of Fiji after planning to recruit the young men that she describes as barely legal to film with.
Bonnie says next guest is one of the most controversial people online.
25-year-old Bonnie Blue from Derbyshire is making headlines around the world for filming herself having sex with teenagers. 25-year-old Bonnie Blue from Derbyshire is making headlines around the world for filming herself having sex with teenagers and posting the footage online. She's been labelled a predator and has even been banned from Australia and thrown out of Fiji after planning to recruit the young men that she describes as barely legal to film with.
Bonnie says she's not doing anything illegal and doesn't sleep with anyone under the age of 18, but her critics say the men she's targeting are too young to understand the repercussions of what they're doing.
So is she just a content creator making money or a dangerous predator who should be stopped? Bonnie joins us now alongside Ashley James. Good morning, ladies.
Hi, morning.
Good morning. So first of all, let's start with you, Bonnie, first of all.
Yeah.
How did you end up in this business and how did you describe your job?
OK, so didn't know too much about the industry before I started, and it's as simple as filming videos and putting it online. I guess that's how I started.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
But you had a job in recruitment, didn't you?
Yes, yeah.
So, well paid?
Yeah, average pay, average annual leave, the whole thing to summarise it, average.
OK, fair enough. So we've been talking, as we've mentioned in the show today, your salary, what you earn at the moment is upwards, you've let me know, of £600,000 a month.
Yes.
I would change careers for that kind of money, but I'm not sure I'd do what you do. Why have you decided that this is the route you're going to go down? Is it just about the money?
So it started off as just the money, because I didn't understand pleasure in sex as such. I didn't understand the educational side of things. So yes, it started off purely around money. But then as I got into it and as I educated myself in the industry, not only did I realise how much pleasure I received from it, but also how much there's a missing gap of educational, content online.
But how did you, it sounds almost as though you fell into it. How did you end up kind of getting there? Because that's quite a big leap.
It's a stretch, yeah.
So I started off camming. So when you go on these sites online, you can speak to girls one-on-one. I started off doing that for a couple of weeks, enjoyed it, had good money, liked interacting with people. And then I was like, OK, I might set up OnlyFans because I was aware of it but didn't know too much about it. Right. So started off doing like your generic content with other content creators that was established in my area. And then I quite quickly realised how fake and how edited that is. And I wanted to take it that one step further.
Right, you have a very specific niche, don't you?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So, barely legal, 18-year-olds. Because as I started my content, I realised it was not necessarily relatable to the average person. And I wanted to make my content relatable. I'm just a girl, I'm relatable, I'm sort of the girl next door vibes. However, that does not portray online if I'm doing these rough, over-the-top scenes. And I want people to be able to watch my videos and be able to imagine themselves in it and, connect with it.
How old are you?
25.
So you're very young yourself.
Yes.
It must be a minefield for you to navigate to get to where you are. But £600,000 at the end of the month, do you know what? You take the risk and you see what you're doing. You've used the word educate quite a lot.
100%.
Are you educating just yourself? Or are you educating these people who are in their teens and, again, 18 and upwards?
So I'm still learning every day. But my content is educational to those that I'm sleeping with and those that are watching it.
And one of the things that you really reiterate any time where I've seen you talk about this at all is you say it's actually one of the safest ways of people having sex or losing their virginity.
Yeah.
Why?
So people say it's an unsafe environment, but I can't think of one situation where an 18-year-old has had sex, where there's security on the door, they've had to bring passport, they've had to sign consent forms, they've had to do a breathalyzer.
Right.
And then they're sleeping with someone that's educated and understands the industry. So what part of that is unsafe?
So in a practical way, how does it actually work? What do you do? Like, you put a message out and you say...
Yeah, I'm like, hey, boys, this is where I'm going to be. This is my location. If you'd like to make content with me, you're welcome to join the queue.
Right, now this picture...
So hold on.
No.
Sorry, Andy. So then people come to wherever you are, guys or girls or anybody.
Not only guys, but yeah.
OK, and they stand outside in a line and then...
A very formal, very British sort of queue style thing, yes.
Right.
Do you never feel frightened? Do you never feel
more
intimidated?
nervous. I think for the first few, I'm like, don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Because you don't know who's going to walk through that door or who's going to be, in the queue. I don't have set requirements for people. So, yeah, I get more nervous, I think, than them for the first few videos.
And I was just going to say, that picture we showed...
Yes.
Who's in that picture? Is that your mum?
No, that's me.
That's you. So I can't see from wherever. But it was your mum that helped make the sign. So you've created... There we are. There's your mum. You've created a family business.
Yes.
And you're kind of... I suppose, do you look after your family? Do you take them on nice holidays?
100%, yeah. Like, it's changed my life and it's changed my family's life for the better. And I want to... if I'm having a good day, I want them to have a good day. So how
did they find out about it? Did you tell them? Did you sit them down? Because just putting myself in your situation, I cannot imagine sitting down and having a conversation like that with my mum and dad.
100%. So, no, I was always going to tell them that the video got leaked very quickly. And I was sort of only a week into it at this point. So I was always going to tell them, but I wanted to understand it better myself before I could sit them down and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, here's the reasons why. To start with, they was a bit gutted and was like, we wouldn't choose this for you. But that was at the start. If I ask them now, it's a complete different story. They see how happy I am, that it is safe, and that the main thing is, like any parents, they want their children to be happy, and they can see the change of me, as from working in an office, sitting in rush hour traffic, getting given 20 days annual leave, to now having this freedom and flexibility in life, which most people strive to achieve, but they're not successful enough.
Ashley, you're sitting there. You've got some strong views on this, haven't you?
I do have strong views. I think, look, lots of women will be very understanding of the double standards there are with men and women, how a man's value increases with sex and a woman's value decreases. And I think there will be lots of us that are fully supportive of sexual liberation. I think the issue that people have with you specifically is the fact that you use terms like barely legal. You say that you're babysitting for kids, I think is a word.
No, I've never used babysitting.
Sorry, babysitting for adults. You did in a podcast with Lottie Moss.
But it's like the barely legal, that's what the media gave me. And the media like to villainize
But you also
women.
now use that terminology. You also say that you're educating. But I'm wondering, who are you educating? Because a lot of your audience, especially on TikTok, are teenagers. And we live in a society where the likes of Andrew Tate are on the rise, the likes of incel culture are on the rise. There's a real fear, not only for our daughters, but also for our sons. And when you say you're educating, what kind of messaging are you putting out there? Because also I've heard you use, say phrases such as women are lazy. If they're not going to give sex to their husbands, then those husbands, dads and barely legal teenagers have a right. Women are not the sexual property of men, and women don't exist to pleasure men. And I never hear you talk about female pleasure
because
and how important
like
it is to be respectful.
And try and say, you're listening to the media. The media likes to villainize women.
I've listened to your own words.
No, of course. But now I'll educate you on the true story of it. There is no content online for 18-year-olds or even people that are new to sex. You go from at school, which you learn about how to get pregnant, basically, how to have safe sex. But then they go from watching content online, which is rough. It's schoolgirls dressed, working with adult content creators, which say, oh, no, I don't want this. It's then led into a very rough scene, which is choking, slapping, hair pulling. So are we only wanting our sons or the younger generation to watch that and try and perform that in a bedroom? Because that's dangerous for women.
I think you're misunderstanding my point here, because I'm not saying, of course, I don't want anyone watching rough pornography.
But why do you not watch that? Because that's also okay.
Well, you're contradicting yourself. My point here is, what are you doing to teach young boys and girls that they don't just exist, women do not exist to please men. Men do not have a right to cheat with partners. But also, how are you teaching young boys that also, male pleasure is not the ultimate. Like, there's also female pleasure, there's also respect. Then what are you doing to teach young men that they don't just have an automatic right to sex?
I'm educated. Have you ever watched one of my tapes?
I haven't watched one of your
Exactly.
tapes.
So you're sat here.
I'm not being aggressive. I'm actually not being aggressive.
No, you're not. But
you're being aggressive back. You're using terms like women like me. I'm asking you questions.
Because you're a woman that promotes women's rights and equality.
Yeah, I do.
Whereas you're not sat here with a guy.
I've also just said to you that I agree with you that there is an unfair double standard. I also think you get a lot of hatred that a man in your position wouldn't, and I'm fully on board
100%.
with that. The thing I'm not on board with is your messaging that men, dads, husbands have a right to cheat. And I want to really touch on this 18-year-old thing. I was a fresher. I was actually at Nottingham University when we went.
Oh, wow.
When I was 18, I remember there was some third-year students that came to my Freshers Week, and I couldn't believe that someone that old, and they were 2 years older than me, but at the age of 18, you are so young, you're so impressionable.
So why do we let 18-year-olds drive, go to the army, do serious jobs?
Well, that's quite different to lining up to have sex.
Obviously, your moral yardsticks are very different. Do you think morally what you do is right?
100%.
Why?
Because like I said, there's a massive gap for it. And I'm not saying women are here just to pleasure men, but I'm here saying, hey, I'm a content creator, I love pleasuring men, watch my videos. So the bigger picture you're blowing up to, that's not my problem. Like, I'm doing what I do best, which is pleasuring and educating.
Blowing up anything, I'm just trying to challenge you on some of the phrases that
but then you don't even allow me to respond.
I am allowing you to respond. I'm just trying to get you to answer the questions.
Bonnie, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Have you thought about the future and where, will there come a point where you'll go, that's enough? Or will you maybe have a little boy or a little girl?
Yeah.
And have you thought about that and thought about, if you did have a little boy or a little girl, how you would explain that situation to them? Or if it didn't even get to that situation, how if your little 8-year-old boy who went to school and looked something up on the internet, found out, and then all the classmates around, have you thought about that?
Yeah, I'm fully aware. When you put something online, it can be that.
Yeah,
but I know that.
It never goes anywhere.
100%.
That's the thing, I think. And I think that's why people have a problem with the 18-year-old thing as well, because we all do daft stuff when we're 18. Have you thought about it, though?
Yeah, so obviously things change massively. Like 10 years ago, you would never even have a sex worker sat here. So things are changing massively.
Yes.
And the things I want to achieve is educating people. So by the time if I do have children, sex workers are not going to be discriminated how they are now. The conversations will be very different. And I've also proven my point in terms of educational content and ethical porn as well, which is currently not something which is shown as much. So yes, they might get picked on at school, but if you're too pretty, if you're ugly, if you don't have money, you're picked on. So regardless nowadays, children are unfortunately picked on. Whereas at least my children, if I do have them and are picked on, it's been from a much bigger picture.
I can't decide, with all, I hate that, with all due respect.
No, we've discussed it. We've talked about it.
I
We've thrown it
can't
all over the
decide
place.
whether you're a genius marketeer and you found a niche that in that world of OnlyFans and all those things, you found a niche which is gaining you £600,000 a month, which is, you know, you're like a Premiership footballer. But you're earning more.
I mean, I work with balls, so it's the same
There we
thing.
go. Thank you. Well done. So I just don't. I just can't decide. I just can't decide.
The thing is, she can be.
And also
you are a marketing genius,
yeah, and you present very well, which makes me think you're very clever, and the whole thing is very clever.
You think sort of when you think sex workers, and I did last year, the ditzy or big boobs and big lips.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the sort of thing you think of. But it's all the Karens sat at home that are going to complain about me being here that are making me rich because they make it blow up. And then when they're sat at home complaining about it to their, their husbands, they're then wanting to come and subscribe.
Well,
so it's sort of helped.
It's an interesting one that we're going to keep debating.
Yeah, wow.
Thank you for joining
Thank you
us.
so much for coming on.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you very much
Hello.
indeed.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day.